Breaking news, crews in Baltimore are working relentlessly to find people who were on the Francis Scott Key Bridge when a cargo ship plowed into it, sending cars and trucks into the water below. Right now, we're taking a live look at the Patapsco River where crews are searching. Hello, I'm Amanda Hall. Early reports say the container ship lost power not long before the collision. This video shows the moment it happened. Take a look. You can see the ship slowly approaching the bridge. Almost in an instant, the bridge falls. You see smoke and fire and a big splash of water.
So surreal to see that. I'm Russ McCaskey, and take a look at this animation from Marine Traffic and Global Ship Tracking and Maritime Analytics platform. It gives us an idea of the path that the ship took. You can see it here. It left the port and then came down here, and that is where the Dolly, which is the ship's name, hit the bridge right there and then led to that collapse. Minutes later, that ship hit that bridge after leaving port. Coming up on Wink News, we're going to take you live to the river with the very latest on the search and rescue operations that are underway right now. Also, the newest information on the investigation.
All new here at 4, we are hearing from one of the heroes who ran into a burning home to save the person inside. On the Wink News Night Beat, we told you about this fire near Arlington Street in Fort Myers. Wink News anchor Annette Montgomery joins us live from the home. Annette, what was going through the man's head when he ran in?
Well, his first thought was, is there a family inside? His next thought was, do I need to go in there and save them? Travis Adams tells me he's only in town for spring training and flies out Monday, so he didn't know the homeowner known as Howard until he ran into this burning house to save him. It's surreal. Flames tearing through this home, smoke billowing into the sky. And it didn't become real for Travis Adams and his buddy until they heard a bang and stepped outside to see what was going down across the street.
It's like, dude, the house across the street's on fire. I'm like, what? I looked over, and then I ended up just running out of the house.
In just socks on his feet, Travis ran to the home on Arlington Street, unaware if or who was inside.
I ran and kind of asked if anyone was in the house and whatnot, and kind of no one knew. And so me and the guy went to the front door and started knocking on it, and I think someone had broken in the front window, and I think they knew who was in there. He was yelling, "Howard, your house is on fire, get out."
His next thought, along with 3 of his neighbors, was, we got to get Howard out, which proved to be harder than they thought, but something these neighborhood heroes were determined to do.
We couldn't get in, and so I had to go around and see if there was another door. And so there was a door on the side, so I ended up tearing a little part of the fence down and getting back there. And we ended up getting the door open and kind of moving some stuff out of the way of that door and getting him out.
One word you might be thinking of when you see Travis is hero, but he just calls himself a neighbor. You might have saved Howard's life. I know you might not be able to picture that now, but you might have.
I don't really think of myself as a hero, but just tried to do it as much as possible and just did the right thing.
And I mean, taking you back out live to this damage, Travis is definitely a hero along with his neighbors. Now, fire officials did confirm last night that the cause of the fire was electrical. Travis says Howard seemed unaware of what was going on, but he's glad they were able to get in and save them. He told me if he could say anything to Howard today, it would be he hopes he's okay, and he's glad he was here to help him. Live in Fort Myers, Annette Montgomery, Wink News.
How about so? All right, Annette, thanks. More breaking news here at 4. The man accused of driving a boat drunk and crashing into the Sanibel Causeway is in custody. Israel Rogner was busted on an out-of-state warrant related to a previous DUI manslaughter charge. Law enforcement recognized the ankle monitor and made the arrest. The FWC report says that when it came to the boat crash, he left the Lani Kai on Fort Myers Beach, appeared to be drunk. That's when he hopped on a boat and later crashed into the causeway.
Breaking now, a truck and SUV crash into a fast food restaurant. This is at the Wendy's on Cleveland Avenue and Park Meadows Drive in Pine Manor. They say one of the cars crashed into the dining and seating area. The Wendy's is closed. A tow truck came to move both cars, and both drivers are safe with no injuries.
All right, back to breaking news. Search and rescue efforts are underway at this hour in Baltimore after that cargo ship brought down the city's Francis Scott Key Bridge on Tuesday. Officials say at least 8 people and multiple vehicles were on that bridge when it fell into the river. You can see some of the damage there. 2 people were saved from the water. At least 6, though, remain unaccounted for. Wink News reporter Michael Yoshida is in Baltimore, where investigators are piecing together how and why the ship may have veered off course and into the bridge. Michael, what are the next steps for crews?
Yeah, at this point, still very active investigation in trying to figure out exactly what happened here, but also that search and rescue mission. Officials speaking a short time ago saying that remains the primary focus. All of those efforts happening around that container ship. You can see it there, the mangled metal of that bridge on top and on the sides of it. These search efforts going on in the air, on the surface, as well as below the water. All of this has been nonstop since the bridge came crashing down around 1:30 this morning.
To hear the words that the Key Bridge has collapsed, it's shocking and heartbreaking.
The sight of a massive cargo ship twisted in the remains of this major Baltimore travel artery surreal. Local, state, and federal emergency response teams have been working the scene by air, by boat, and using dive teams, looking for vehicles and any victims. For now, preliminary findings point to an accident, say investigators.
There is no specific or credible information to suggest that there are ties to terrorism in this incident.
A Mayday call from the ship's crew just before 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time gave officials critical minutes to warn motorists heading towards the bridge.
Many of the vehicles were stopped before they got onto the bridge, which saved lives in a very, very heroic way.
Initial reports from the Coast Guard indicate that a harbor pilot and assistant were on board.
Maritime and Port Authority officials in Singapore, where the cargo ship is registered, confirmed that the vessel, Dolly, temporarily lost propulsion and dropped anchor as an emergency measure prior to the crash. The vessel's lights were seen flickering, then going out completely before it hit one of the bridge's key support pillars. While assessing the human toll remains the priority for response agencies, there's also a devastating impact to the region's economy.
We're one of 4 deep water ports that can handle the larger Panamax ships. We have a cruise terminal. So, getting through this is going to be really hard.
And when it comes to getting this port back open and this important artery back open for the vehicle traffic, President Biden saying today he hopes the federal government will bear the full cost of rebuilding this bridge. Again, that step 2 here, first step, trying to continue these search and rescue efforts. At last check with officials, 6 remain unaccounted for. Now, state and federal officials are here on the scene investigating as this continues. In Maryland, Mike Yoshida, Wink News.
Developing now, the search for a man who hit and killed a man on his bike, then drove off, is still on. FHP says this white, newer model Chevy truck hit and killed a 64-year-old bicyclist. You can clearly see the damage to the front bumper. This happened early Sunday morning on Oil Well Road in Collier County. The driver left the man to die and hasn't been seen since. If you have any information that can help close this case, you're encouraged to call Crime Stoppers.
Power poles knocked down, a fence ruined, and backyards torn up, and not a single person caught it on camera. Here on Wink, we told you how a neighborhood full of people say that a U-Haul crashed into power poles and took out a woman's fence, then just took off on Kismet Parkway in Cape Coral, leaving that neighborhood without power. Well, despite this crazy scene and the world that we live in where you're on camera more times than not, we spent the day looking for video of the U-Haul only to come up empty. Wink News reporter Liz Byro joins us now live. So Liz, even without video, can you take us through the driver's path of destruction?
Yeah, Russ, the U-Haul box truck pulled off of Kismet Way over here, then plowed down this fence, took down this telephone pole and transformer. Now, the neighbor across the way believes that the vehicle then pulled off this way because a wire it picked up along the way hit her mailbox. It missed this next telephone pole, but hit the next couple. You can see crews there right now fixing things up. And now this afternoon, the search is on for the driver and their U-Haul, but without any video, KPD's job is a little harder. A fence plowed down, poles bent and broken, the fence cage piled in a ball.
I'm usually in the yard here with my dog playing around, and we would have been killed.
Thankfully, Susan Fisher was in her Cape Coral home Monday afternoon around 3:30 when neighbors say a U-Haul slammed through her fence, knocked down 3 power poles, and sped off.
I just keep hearing the noise from him hitting everything. It sounded like a bomb went off.
And that left this neighborhood without electricity. Fisher didn't see the U-Haul. Her next-door neighbor did and said it looked something like this, a 26-foot box truck.
And there's got to be a lot of damage to this U-Haul truck. Or he must have gotten hurt, or it's got to have a broken windshield or something. I don't know why he just kept hitting things.
I was wondering if any of the local U-Hauls have maybe been made aware to stay on the lookout for a very damaged U-Haul coming back? I called a local U-Haul. The person who answered didn't know anything about one of the company's trucks being involved in a disturbance like this. One homeowner whose mailbox was hit by a wire pulled by the vehicle had a camera pointed right at the truck's path, but it caught nothing. I kept going, and every home with a camera either didn't capture anything or the homeowner didn't answer the door. I went into a 7-Eleven at the end of the road. They checked their camera pointed right where the vehicle pulled off. Nothing.
This looks like it was intentional, and he needs to turn himself in. He has turned my life upside down.
Yeah, and Susan is a snowbird, and she's leaving in a couple of days, now having to deal with her fence, electric, and CenturyLink. Now, she told me that people cut through her backyard often because they're trying to avoid traffic on Kismet Parkway because of all the construction. Now, if you see a damaged U-Haul 26-foot-long box truck, call the Cape Coral Police Department. I'm live in Cape Coral. Liz Byro, Wink News.
The city that has caught major flack over redoing a park is still trying to make people come around on changes. Right now, we're taking a live look at the Cape Coral Design Board, showing the community 30% of their proposed design for JC Park. They're getting opinions on the updates to the plan. On Wink News at 5, we'll bring you what comes of this meeting.
You know, people will have strong opinions. All right, well, just like that, it is over. Just as fast as it started, spring training is done here in Southwest Florida. Every year, fans from around the world swarm the old ballparks for a few weeks. Wink Sports reporter Zach Oliveri tells us what this time means to fans.
It's a bittersweet day for baseball fans here in Southwest Florida. It's the last day of spring training games, but the regular season games start this week. For fans here at Hammond Stadium, they're making the most of the last spring training game of the year. Whether it's scoring an autograph,
it's official,
picking up a program, or just seeing the players up close and personal. For fans like John Nelson, the spring training experience is special. He drives down every year from Minnesota to see his Twins.
When you take 2 weeks to do it, it's not so bad.
Nelson makes some stops along the way, but nothing tops sitting in the sun in his seat at Hammond Stadium. He's had season tickets for 15 years.
We're close enough to the on-deck circle that bases loaded, and Rice Lewis came up, and people around us started saying, "Hey, Rice, what about a grand slam?" And he laughed and looked at us and smiled, and guess what he did? He hit a grand slam. So that was pretty cool.
People packed the house Tuesday to see the Twins wrap up the Grapefruit League schedule against the Atlanta Braves. Both teams even played their starters. Who are you guys most excited to see today?
Acuna, Matt Olson, and I guess Carlos Correa.
Spring trainings to me games are fun. They're different from the regular season games. The players are more relaxed.
Spring training is fun, but more fun is on the way for these fans.
Now it's time to play the real games.
Our final day of spring training coverage continues new at 5:30 as Wink News sports reporter Sylvie Sparks is in Port Charlotte with the Tampa Bay Rays. At Hammond Stadium, Zach Oliveri, Wink Sports.
I was able to go to a couple games.
Yeah,
Always a
good
good
for
time.
you.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
so much fun. Yeah. Well, getting it done no matter what. A construction company is getting the job done right now. We take a look at what they're working on and their keys to success.
A lot for sale used as a dump. Giant spools of wire left in this Cape Coral neighborhood for more than a year. Now, finally, there's progress. What convinced Comcast to come and pick up their garbage?
And we're currently warm and breezy across Southwest Florida. However, tracking our next cold front, I'll break down the timing and what impacts it'll bring to us in a couple more minutes. Stick with us. Wake News, 4 p.m. We're coming right back.